Led urban regeneration. Oh la la, what a serious title. Okay, I put some thoughts together. May I read it? The art-led urban regeneration and art as a placemaker are not a brand new topics. Over the last 20 years, we saw a large amount of projects and initiatives launch, flourish, or became stagnant, tired, finish off, or being absorbed by a real estate development investments. Today, we will make an attempt to define those questions, demands, challenges, and limitations of urban regeneration that artist-driven initiatives have to face. Furthermore, the connection of these projects to authorities and power. In the artist on an art collective, the leader of a reinvention and a revitalization in the urban space, or the victim in the hands of the real estate development world. What is art's role and significance in the urban landscape? Is art a tool of reclamation of authority over urban spaces? We are joined today by artist Joep van Lieshout, whose visionary project Brutus will serve us as the starting point of our discussion. Also here with us is Sanne and Brink, director of Brutus. Through Brutus, we aspire to get closer to questions such as how an individual art career grows into a neighborhood-wide art and real estate development plan, from an atelier to a cultural cluster. Then we talk about VEWA, an initiative by the DKollektiv, who is represented by Serge Ecker here. A project on a very different scale and from a different position, yet also a placemaking project started by an art collective or civil people, and both rethink and reuse and all these industrial spaces. And then I asked for the insights of an architect and urban planner expert, François Thiry, here to zoom out and to look at these initiatives in a broader international context. And also would like to encourage you, so it's, I'm not planning, you know, I'm just putting questions and stuff, so please raise topics and, you know, just grab the microphone and tell anything what you find it important. And also you guys, so please prepare questions, because at the end of the panel, we're gonna open it and should be a free discussions. So before give the floor to Brutus, allow me to introduce briefly myself, and I ask everybody, we're going step by step, and everybody tell something, a self-introduction, and of course the project introduction as well. So my name is Sándor Finta from Budapest, and I'm an architect and urban expert, and beside my for-profit architectural practice, I was a long-term chairmanship of called Hungarian Contemporary Architecture Center, which is absolute bottom-up initiatives, independent and raised and put in the center the contemporary architecture. We have done many placemaking projects all over the city, and also we in a very city center, in a modernistic building, we did a very nice placemaking project. And after that, I was asked to be a chief architect of the Budapest, which was a very strange moment in my life, because once the mayor said, called me up and he said, oh guys, you are talking a lot, you should do something. And then I landed in the city administration, which was totally different, you know, my architectural practice and also the non-profit practice. But luckily and anyway, surprisingly, I could manage and deal with this administration. I could bring some bottom-up agenda in the policy-making strategy. And after that, I working hardcore urban developers as well in a former industrial area. It's a river bank of the Danube, which was incorporated the first high-rise building in Budapest, and also several public art projects in the places. So, and now I would like to pass the microphone to Sanne, continue the introduction, and tell us what is Brutus, this and what behind this Brutus, this mythical and magical name.
Okay, I will do my best. Thank you. Well, maybe to start, because the title of this conference is Reclaiming the City, but I think for us it would be more relevant to say claiming the city, because you've already actually claimed that area where we are based 35 years ago. It was after your academy time, I think, that you discovered the area. By that time it was a place with violence, with drugs, with prostitution, and hardly anyone wanted to be there, but you wanted to be there, and immediately believed in the area. And you also realized that if you would not have feet on the ground, that you could be removed really easily. And that's what we actually are seeing happening at this moment, because there are a lot of real estate developers, the municipality, and in the past 35 years, Joep actually did a lot of placemaking with all those artists, and I think it was a good decision that he acquired infrastructure and all those industrial harbor spaces. So you already claimed it, maybe to start, and then, I need to do the slides myself, so. So the first thing I wanted to address with Brutus is where we are based. And yeah, I have a small video. Maybe it's a bit boring because it's in the sound. It's in Dutch, so we put the sound out. And but it gives, in any case, an impression of what the area is where we are.
Merwe Vierhavens. Rotterdam is groot geworden door deze plek. Met vrachtladingen fruit en pulp die af en aangesleept werden. Die jaar in jaar uit miljoenen monden in Europa voeden. En nu de fruitoverslag naar de Maasvlakte verhuist, nu broeit er iets. Er komt ruimte voor nieuwe plannen, voor nieuwe energie. Havenindustrie wisselt stuivertje met maakindustrie. Medische onderzoekers bemensen nieuwe laboratoria in de Marconi-torens. Cleantech-ondernemers innoveren op beschikbare vierkante meters. Kunstenaars betrekken hallen en foodies bevolken loodsen. Zo wordt Merwe Vierhavens veroverd door mannen en vrouwen met een visie op de nieuwe economie. Strategische doeners en pragmatische dromers die vormgeven aan een gebied vol historie. Een gebied binnen stadshavens Rotterdam dat gewillig en weerbarstig transformeert. Van Merwe Vierhavens naar M4H. Hier aan de westkant van Rotterdam ontmoeten haven en stad elkaar. Vlak bij het centrum, dicht bij het openbaar vervoer, snelwegen en vliegveld. Hoe mooi wil je het hebben? Studio's, ateliers, kantoren, woningen, eten, uitgaan. We maken het de komende 30 jaar waar. Stap voor stap. Hier ambiëren we dé maakstad van Rotterdam. Een plek die Nieuw-Hollands glorie ontwikkelt en verspreidt naar de rest van de wereld. Een plek die uitdaagt, schuurt, verrast, verwondert. Pure poëzie van het Rotterdamse soort. M4H is onontgonnen. Hier halen ondernemers de toekomst naar zich toe. Er is focus, er is ruimte en er is markt. Dit is het Innovation District. Het innovatiecentrum van Rotterdam. Een plek waar jij je stempel kunt drukken. Het schuurt en het beweegt. Voel je het? Die energie, dat maakbare, die kans.
At least it gives an impression. Yeah, this is another picture of the area. So we are one of the largest harbors in the world. Already saw that in the movie, one of the largest fruit terminals in the world. And then what is Brutus? Brutus is an artist-driven playground, and artist-driven because it is an initiative of the artist, Joep van Lieshout, but also because we want and we aim to put the artist first and to really offer time, space, and freedom to artists to explore, to create, to experiment, to dream big, and to build even bigger, and to do things that they can actually do hardly anywhere else. And we want to be complementary to what already happens in the institutional model, in the white cube. First of all, because of our venues that are super, and the spaces that are super raw and unpolished, sort of remnant type of space. But also because of our activities that we deploy, you say it like that. Our program is not avoiding friction. We actually want to go beyond any taboo and to put topics and themes on the agenda of tomorrow and things that are relevant for tomorrow, that makes you think and opens your eyes and actually makes you future-proof. We have our own sculpture garden with artworks of Atelier van Lieshout. It's a garden that's open and accessible to the public the entire year long. So people from the neighborhood can come there to picnic, to work, to enjoy the art, to have a meeting. Can be anything. And we notice that in the beginning it was not so crowded, but the last couple of years we really attract a lot of people. And we also get back from people that it is really nice that it is such an accessible space and place. And besides that, we also have the Brutus Lab, and that's a place where artists actually can work. We offer them residencies and working spaces. And they can actually, they don't have any target or deadline, but they can work freely. And if they need or want the network or the capacity of Brutus, they can make use of it. So that means during Rotterdam Art Week, for example, or during the Open Atelier weekends, they can open up their doors and we can promote them, we can connect them to our network and make their work visible to the world. And at this moment we have 5 artists working there, one from China, one from New York, one from Malaysia, one from Rotterdam, also important, and one from Argentina. We are at the moment one of the largest contemporary art spaces in the Netherlands, but I must say with the smallest team. So we have a lot of ambition and we do a lot of activities. Maybe I can show some of our... We're a non-profit organization. Let's see, we attracted last year about 28,000 people. This year probably a bit more than 30,000. And we are aiming for 45,000 in 25. We make about 15 exhibitions per year. And that's also interesting to mention is that we do a lot of activities in collaboration with partners and other institutions and festivals in the city. So, for example, we organize an outdoor cinema festival 12 days in a row in summertime. We do a lot of music concerts, theater plays. We work together with an opera festival, and often they do interventions with the exhibitions that we are organizing. But it makes it interesting because it enables us to do a cross-pollination, I think you say it like that, of different target audiences. So people come for a theater play or for a music performance or concert. For example, last year we had the Black Country New Road. It's a band from London and they are super popular. It attracts about 1,000 young people, mainly 25, 30 years old. They all go to the concert and afterwards they also get to know the exhibition that we have on show. And it's an easy way to mix the target audiences. Oh yeah, and last but not least, we have the annual Brutus Prize, and it's an award that we hand over to an artist that we believe deserves it. And that can be an established artist, it can be a young talent, mid-career. We do not have a focus on one specific group of artists. The artists that work too controversial, their work is too complicated, too big maybe for the institutional white cube model, those are exactly the artists that we want to embrace and offer a platform at Brutus. And we have tight bonds, obviously, with Atelier van Lieshout, since Joep is the founder of the foundation, but also since we share the same roof, so we work a lot together. Yeah, what makes it unique? I think I already went into that. So the spaces are extra, extra large, and that's also what we aim for, to trigger and to challenge the artist to really think big and do a takeover. And that means we put the artist first. That means that also the artist functions sometimes as a curator, him or her or themselves. They can do a takeover and make their own solo show. They can select their own, the curator that they want to work with. But at least the artist is always put at the first spot. And we aim for, our motto actually is everyone is an insider. And that means for artists, everyone is an insider. It doesn't matter whether you have had an art education, can also be an outsider, can be an autodidact, can be a super established artist, can be a young talent, at least as the quality is good. And also for our target audiences, we also aim for everyone as an insider. And that means that everyone is welcome at our openings. We do not have a VIP list, but we invite everyone, and that means that at openings we have about 1,000 people dancing until midnight and have a really large crowd coming over. And maybe nice also to mention is a project that we recently started. It's a project that we do in collaboration with Pluspunt, an organization in Rotterdam who work with ex-addicts and ex-homeless people. And they actually offer a sort of daycare for these people. And we now have a program running 15 months where we selected a couple of artists from Brutus who are doing coaching sessions and work together with the participants of Pluspunt. And that will finally result in an exhibition at Brutus, also to support or to give them a bit more self-esteem, but also to support the creative process and to get them a little bit closer to society, actually. Here are some highlights that we look back on. A couple of large exhibitions that we did in the past years. We actually want to respond to the zeitgeist, so we don't schedule everything in advance. We always leave space open to react to what's going on at that moment. And then the list of the former Brutus Prize winners and some names, because the list is a bit longer, of the residents that we have had in the past years. And the interesting thing is that we also try to create and to build a really sustainable relationship with the artists. And for example, the last one, Felix Burger, I think he did a residency 6 years ago, 7? I don't know exactly, 7, 8 years ago. And he went back to Germany and created a whole body of work. And we will now open a really large solo exhibition in April, where we bring 14 years of his work together. And here you see the projects, the upcoming projects. And maybe nice to show one of these, maybe the left one. It's a project that we developed, Wild Summer of Art, also to give a stage to Rotterdam-based artists. And it was last year, was the first edition. We brought together 180 artists in 6 weeks' time to offer them a platform after Corona. And that's an initiative that we will continue next year. Not 180 anymore, but only 50, but still a large amount. But this video If you switch it on, yeah, gives an impression of the spaces and also of the show. Video maybe also nice to show is another show that we did this year through Bone and Marrow that was curated by a stylist, sort of fashion designer in the Netherlands, Maart Spruit. It's more a sensitive exhibition and it's actually about our place as human beings at this moment and that we actually need to take a step back and to give a bit more space to nature. So this gives an idea of the broad scope of projects that we initiate, and do. Then we need to be humble, but a slide to show that also the press is really enthusiastic about the things that we do. So last year we really had a lot of, actually the exhibition that we have running right now, Petro Melancholia, it was in all the 5 large newspapers, so the press knows to find us and also wants to put it on the agenda, and that's really good to notice. And then I think I hand over the microphone to Joep to tell a bit more about our big Brutus dream.
Thank you, Sanne. You told many things that I wanted to tell, so now I have to improvise. When I came to Rotterdam, the beginning of the 80s, there was a lot of empty buildings in the harbor. And so as an artist, you just took one, but then after a year or two, you had to move out. But there was not a problem because there was another building and another building, another building. But then at a certain moment I said, well, actually it's very important to own a building now, because otherwise you are just a kind of an artist that they put in an area that they will develop, will be gentrified, and then it becomes too expensive for an artist to be. So in 2008, when there was the real estate crisis, which was very good for me, I could buy a lot of square meters, a lot of buildings, and for almost nothing. And In the years after, I bought some more, and now altogether we have 10,000 square meters. Also in 2008, I made this foundation, which is now called Brutus, to give space for all kind of artists to exhibit, but also for my own work. And because I don't make a lot of works that you would fit in an art fair, I like to make very big installations. So big and so complicated, so heavy and so dirty that there's almost no museum that want or can exhibit it. So I said, well, if the museums don't come to me, then I just build an own museum. And so we did. So for me as well, except for giving space to other artists and creators and makers, I also want to build one very complicated, very big installation, which is more like a kind of a labyrinth where all the things come together. But since I have so much land, which is here. Well, this is my studio. This is a plan of the future. So how it is now, they're just old empty buildings or old harbor buildings. So I started thinking, well, if I have so much land in an area that will be developed, why don't make a big real estate development ourselves and to get very, very rich. And so I started working like 7 years ago about making drawings first and ideas, and it went up and down and up and down. At a certain moment, more 4 years ago, I think, an architect from Rotterdam, who's also a real estate developer, he came to me and he said, well, very nice what you do, but it's a bit small. You should make it bigger so you have less risk and more profit. And then I said, well, that sounds like a good idea. So what we did is we said, okay, we need to build a lot of houses. 750 was to be the ideal. And in order to create a lot of money to build a new cultural center. The cultural center is called Brutus. And so what we do now is we will build houses on our 10,000 square meters land. And then in this old factory over there, we will build Brutus. So there we will have 10,000 square meters of exhibition space and about 3,500 meters of event space. So in the big gasometer, there will be a place for big concerts, events, exhibitions, fairs, and things like that. So this is how it will look like. And so we also will have a public accessible garden. We'll have a lot of buildings, and then I will go back to this. So this is the idea. It's a very interesting process. I learn a lot. It's very challenging. You have to take a lot of time because you have to work with the city of Rotterdam, which is they're slow gears. It's a slow machine that you have to push, and if you push them too much, they go slower. So this is, but now we are like halfway the process. I would say we now have a good chance to get a building permit. Another idea is that from the proceeds of the development, we will build the museum, but there will be more money left, and the idea is to make an endowment fund. So we'll invest that money in apartments that will be rented out to young families, and then from the rent, the amount of money we get every month, a large part of the programmation can be paid. So basically, what we do, we create a system that is not depending on the real estate, and is also, especially in the future, not depending on money, because it generates itself. So in that sense, it comes again very close to my own work, which also deals very much about circular movements, about recycling, about systems. So if I probably in 20 years later, I will look back, I will think, oh, this was just an artwork, but a little bigger than the other ones.
That's very interesting. I mean, it looks like you should be a shark. You always have to swim, otherwise you die. You know.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you starting as an an artist, and then you have to develop a bigger idea. You know, you have to become an architect, and then you have to become a developer. So
yes, and I'm very greedy.
Yeah. No, I mean it's very reminds me and my former life when we started our young architecture practice, and we realized that okay, we should have a space where we can design, you know. So we need a space, and also we need some promotion because nobody understands what is contemporary architecture. So we should do something, and then we funded this kind of cultural center, for both purposes. But then, it's also a lot of work and never-ending story. So, okay, probably Serge has a different story, different approach.
So I'm Serge. I'm a freelance artist, an independent artist, but I'm today here as one of the members of the DKollektiv, an artist collective founded in Dudelange in 2016. And we were moving from, it was supposed to be a project for 1 month during the Biennale of Industrial Culture, and somehow we're still around. So I don't know how that ended up, or will end up, but since we had to move from one hall to the other at one point, and the hall we were in will be demolished for the new city quarter in Dudelange, to make place for a road for car-free city quarter, we're looking for a new building, and since we were tired of doing workshops with people or with other artists, we said, okay, we're going to turn the whole process and the building into a collaborative workshop and make a participatory renovation. So the site we're talking about is this whole site in Dudelange, and the building is the Vestia Wagonage, so VEWA for short, and it means the locker room and the train carriage workshop. And a few years ago it looked a bit different when there was the whole steel industry running, or still running, and that shut down in '84, and since then this whole area has been kind of abandoned. The whole factory closed down in 2005, and we found an abandoned building that was pretty rough, but we kind of fell in love with it. So it has a structure, it has a nice shape, it has a large hall and a few other spaces that the idea was to make a participatory renovation of this building with all the people, and to share the knowledge of people, to share our knowledge, to learn something, and to create a community around this place in a city quarter that is not existing yet. So it would be like the first residents, real residents on site. This started in 2020 when we got funding for this with the Œuvre Grande Duchesse Charlotte and H22 in the framework of H22, the cultural capital, or the capital of culture. I still don't know how to what order it should be pronounced, but yeah, so the first moment was, okay, let's get all the trash out, renovate this, scratch the walls, take out everything that's kind of ridiculous, and profit from this participatory workforce. And making a participatory workshop or renovation in a corona pandemic is quite a funny moment in one's life. So people are bored at home, so they need a new way of occupation. We, on the other hand, as a small group, were confronted with changing rules like every 2 days. So the renovation was like whipping out walls, cleaning everything, taking care of the building, of what we could do, like all the electricity and technical stuff was taken care of by our collaborators from the city and Fonds de Logement, and we were in fall, which was architectural. Luckily, our architect in the collective was also the city's architect at that point to do the renovation of the building. The devil lies in the details in such projects. So even the tiles, we try to do the maximum with recuperated stuff and taking it from other buildings that will be demolished. So to clean the tiles and to lay the tiles, we had a lot of people helping us with their knowledge, like Pino, who shared all this knowledge with the tile laying. I see Tony back there, who is also one of those happy members that taught us a lot from his experience in life. And so to clean all those tiles, we had to get them from other buildings, and all the materials, we had to get them, take them out, clean them, and we used public workforce during festivals, during music festivals or marketplaces. We said, if you clean us 10 tiles, you get a free beer. So making people work for beer is it always works. Then also about painting, the usual stuff of a building, then repairing stuff. It was from welding workshops to wood workshops. Everything was involved during a 2-year period where we renovated this building with all the people who shared their help and their workforce. Of course, when you work together and you can't pay people, or you're doing this for a non-profit organization, you cook. The cooking and the was a big part of the project. There was always a team preparing the food. And yeah, you see a lot of happy faces when the food comes around, when it's a cold day. Of course, the Corona pandemic, the masks, you still recognize them, but yeah. To do this food, we also prepared a garden outside, and basically a roofer came to us and said, I have a roof for you, do you want it? Not knowing that it was panels 6 meters by 3 meters wide, so you have to cut these in pieces and put it together in a different shape. So that's the garden in the making. And then finally, in the May of 22, we could inaugurate the building, which was at that point just a hall, which was kind of finished, and we were still nowadays, we're continuing the work because it's still an unfinished process, and it should be an unfinished building, always depending on what people need and what they want to contribute, and the building should change like a metabolism. From a few pictures from the opening, just to give you an impression of what the space looks like. And then I'm gonna do you a small virtual tour, but it's way more fun if you come and look for yourself on a Wednesday afternoon or on one of those open days. So the outside of this, our nice cheesecake shaped building. Then when you come into the large hall with the different workshops. A view from the top with the metal workshop, wood workshop, the stage, our trash can you will see later, with the kitchen of course in the center, and since it was a train carriage workshop, we wanted to include the rails of course, and the train carriage. The wood workshop, the pizza oven, very important device. And the thing is, nobody has a space in this place. There's no personal studios, it's all shared. So it's about sharing knowledge, about building stuff together, like the furniture with the students from Arts et Métiers and from Lycée Nick Beaver, the stage for jam sessions, the metal workshop. The room which required the most work is of course the toilets. So, and luckily in Dudelange they were producing sheet metal, so the logo of the production looks like toilet paper, so somehow it fits. Our citizens' room for meetings and like all sorts of workshops. Our beautiful staircase, even in the 1950s, they had a good taste in industrial architecture, even though it was just a locker room. Our office, the graphic design and textile department, and the photo lab to finish and to get out of the building again into the large hall. So basically that's a quick tour of the building, of how it looked before and how it looks now. We still do our participatory Saturdays, like next Saturday will be one, and on Wednesdays we're always there from 4 to 8. So, and there's other, we are not alone in this building, because we said a building this size, we can't use it on our own the whole time. So there's the bike club, the photo club, SEPA for art courses, the Fondation Thierry van Verweke, the local social quarter, how do you say this? Interaction is like a social initiative to bring people in the city quarters together. So it's a big community.
Can you hear me? Okay, it's a very energetic and very vibrant space. So we had a chance yesterday to visit the place. So if anybody wasn't there, you should go there. Yeah. François, please, as an architect and urban expert, please share with us your thoughts on these two different approaches, and also help us to zoom out a little bit. And if there is some international examples, you can also bring into the discussion.
Yeah. So when Joep started occupying this part of the Arbor in Rotterdam, I used to live there in 2001 together with my partner Carol, and I remember very well when he announced that he was starting a free state, basically. Yeah? That's how it started, and I have a very strong. I keep very strong images of this artist taking on politics and sociology and all kind of other fields around his own work. And now I'm totally not surprised that he is going into real estate and exploring even more exciting areas. And of course, at that time we were young architects, and Joep was one of the first major artists that we encountered, and then we've been following their work since then. But we also met other artists in this period of time, and slowly there appeared to be a pattern that was repeating itself in various countries of artists, probably due to globalization, probably due to the extension of the art market. I don't know exactly why, I didn't study that exactly, but we witnessed artists buying land, investing post-industrial areas, becoming architect, being fascinated by construction, by also political strategies. And then today I just wanted to share a few images of two other international artists to compare. We can compare, it's interesting to see the differences and then maybe start a discussion. It's just my own private research, it's nothing published, it's just my interest in the passing years about how artists want to become architects, as if we don't have enough competition already. Yeah. Okay. So you may know Anselm Kiefer's former atelier and living space in southern France, in Barjac. And you may, I don't know if anybody in the room had a chance to visit this area last year, or actually this summer. But if you don't know, I'm letting you know that this amazing area is open for the public since this summer, since last summer. It's easy to have an idea on the internet. There is a lot of visual material, a lot of articles, also books. And what I find interesting is that Kiefer, he located there about the same time you started probably in the harbor. It was the early 90s. And the early 90s, of course, in Europe was a very intense moment when borders were disappearing and there was an amazing feeling of optimism. And then this German artist moved to southern France and started working in these former proto-industrial buildings that you can see here. I'm not going to go into details. You know something about that already, but I think this is really becoming a destination now in itself. It looks amazing. It's a place where, exactly like Joep said, he can show his own work which have a scale that very few museums can afford to buy or even less show. And there you can really see these permanent installations in the nature. And I think this project is really becoming a milestone in how artists, and somehow it is quite similar to what happens at AVL in Rotterdam, only that I think Kiefer came to he reached a limit, a boundary in his own project at some point, because he was really far away from, airports, probably far away from collectors, far away from decision-making centers. So at some point in 2008, again dates are quite similar, he decided to move to Paris. And then he acquired a very modern warehouse next to an airport that you can see to the left, and really like 20 minutes from the city center of Paris. And you can see there the size, the amazing size of the warehouse, and the kind of working space that he can use for about 15 years now. And again, you can find this search for an autonomous, almost industrial space where the artist, together with his team, can develop projects on a scale that basically is impossible to achieve in regular artist space. It's just too big. It's just too much. And also, if you have a look, I do my little research. Instead of Instagramming all the time, I do this kind of internet research. And it's funny because he has a lot of problems with thieves. Is constantly being this area is constantly being entered by people who know nothing about art, but are only interested in the primary materials, because he's stocking so many tons of steel, of stone, of all kind of rough but interesting materials that people are taking them not as art but as material to sell on other markets. So these are totally new problems for artists, obviously, and because the sheer size of the material becomes a logistic problem in itself. And I'm really fascinated how artists like you showed us before are facing problems that really you don't think they would like to handle at first, but they do it and they take the challenge. I think it's amazing. So another interesting space. I'm curious how this area evolves. At the moment, it is still very industrial, but as all these areas evolve in time, it might become a more urban space. And then, of course, this has a potential to becoming again an exhibition space and to be open to public, which is not at the moment. Because at the moment, it's a very valuable workspace with a lot of material and a lot of things to be protected. Now, another artist that I know for meeting him again in this year of 2008, where many things changed, I think, due to the economy probably, is Ai Weiwei. So again, the story of Ai Weiwei, this artist dealing a lot with architecture, is probably known to you already, partly. But I think this story of Ai Weiwei doing architecture is developing again, and in quite amazing ways, in unexpected ways. So in the little rectangle here is a building, a group of buildings that Ai Weiwei designed in 2007 in Beijing, and it was not the only one building. He really built an amazing number of gallery space, artist space, a workspace for artists, and also residences for artists in this Kaohsiungdi neighborhood. That maybe some of you have been there, had the chance to go there at the time. It is changing rapidly because China is no stranger to gentrification. We have exactly the same gentrification process there in Beijing than we know in European and American cities. So now some of these buildings are being demolished to make room for governmental project and mostly housing or office buildings. The funny thing with this specific project of Ai Weiwei is that the same year he had the opportunity to build exactly the same group of buildings in a remote area in Inner Mongolia, in Ordos. And if you compare the two, the plans are exactly the same. So he replicated the same group of buildings, which is a mix of residences and art spaces, in the middle of the desert. And this is one of the few buildings that have actually been built in the framework of this Ordos 100 project, where Ai Weiwei and other and some architects from Europe invited 100 architects to develop villas in China. The whole villas scheme was a failure and never saw the light of day, but this building and some others were actually built. And this photo is quite recent. You can still so the Chinese government was famous for demolishing some buildings of Ai Weiwei. You may have heard about that at some point, but they don't demolish everything. They really keep a lot because it's interesting. It's really working well, and it's a lot can be still done with it. So this is another aspect of Ai Weiwei dealing with architecture, but this is in Inner Mongolia, really 2 hours flying from Beijing. And now, at the same time, about 2008, he planned to move from Beijing to Shanghai, okay? And he decided to go to build his own warehouse and production plant in Shanghai. And he finally managed to build the thing in 2010. And then that's, long story short, you know, he got into conflict with the government because of some natural catastrophe in, you know, another province of China. And he got jailed for a couple of months, and he got persona non grata in China. And then consequence that some contracts or agreements he had with the government in Shanghai were declared non-valid, and they demolished the whole thing. Okay, so it has a very clear shape. You can recognize this as an architecture as such, and that was in 2011. Then he moved away from China. He settled first in Berlin, then in England, and then this was all too busy for him, and he finally landed in Portugal. You probably heard about that. So now the Ai Weiwei lives in Portugal full time, and now what happens is rebuilding this same warehouse that was demolished in Shanghai. Only he's doing it in wood, and I think he's doing it very carefully. I think the whole carpentry work is amazing. It's a completely different. Of course, Europe offers other options for a constructor than China, so he could do it in a very elaborated carpentry manner, and you can see the result. It's not far from being finished, and again, he is starting a new chapter of his architectural and also investing strategy in a new country. So see. Artists becoming architects, becoming developers. It's not a trend that you see, of course, everywhere. It's really exceptional, but there are a couple of examples, and I think we could somehow, at some point, we could probably have a typology of how artists occupy land and have a territorial strategy. And maybe it's not my job to do research, but I would really like to have some student publishing anything, you know, to offer a kind of international perspective on this subject.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. I mean, it seems to be every art or any kind of initiative sooner or later ended up a large-scale housing project. So it should be a high rate return of investment. So yeah, we should go forward in this direction. So before we step forward to community and social aspects, I would like to ask you two guys, Joep and Serge, that what gives the energy and the freshness to your motivation? Because have been doing continuously the same thing. I mean, it should be something which you gives back the energy and the freshness. But it's keep your mindset,
Well, basically, not knowing what is coming is the good part. The thing is, the most motivating in our project was those 5 minutes sometimes when you walk through the space and on one of those participatory days, and you see in every corner there's somebody doing something for the building, for the community, and teaching something, learning something, just shaping a material and shaping the space. So really claiming the space to make it livable again, because it has been abandoned. And that keeps yourself moving. And then the moment when you're alone in the hall and just look around what has happened. And I did the photos, the ones last Monday, and I compared them to the ones that we had in the beginning. It's like a lot has happened, and a lot of communal effort has been put in this building. This is a lot of people worked in this thing, and I have to thank them all. So for keeping my motivation up. So.
Joep?
Yeah, I have a very hard head and I cannot look backwards. So if someone says it's impossible or no, you cannot do it, it's not allowed, then I really get my energy, and then I see this concrete wall and say. So basically it is like it's a competition, I could say, yeah.
That's cool. It's like an artist attitude, You cannot do that, then you do. All right. And okay, let's talk about a little bit the community and social aspects of this project, or in a wider context. Is creating a community around the project is a necessary aspect? Is it important for you, or it just people just coming and consuming, or it's really a part of the project?
The community is the project, because it's about the opposite of consuming. If you come there, if you just stand there for 5 minutes, normally Eric will give you a hammer or something, or just a tool, and just like hold this and help here. No choice.
I also think it's very important, also in the programmation, to include, let's say, the people who live around this area, which is not a very wealthy area. It's actually one of the poorest areas of Rotterdam. But also in the real estate development, I think it's very important to do a lot of social housing, but also to do social housing studios. So that means housing and studios for artists that are on a very low rent. And this is something that if you want and you're creative, you can do it. While a lot of real estate developers, they don't do it because they're very much interested in maximization of profit. And since I don't care about money as long as I have enough to to throw it around, then I think, no, let's take this chance that I have. Maybe it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to make it into something which is extraordinary on a lot of levels.
And do you have any techniques, or do you remember what was the, because involving even the locals, not to speak about a wider community, is, especially at the beginning, it's very challenging. So what did you have in your hands? What was the technique, or do you remember the turning point when people just coming, and or did you organize a great event, or what was the involvement strategy?
We just tried it. We just opened the doors and looked who was coming, and people are changing, but some stick. So it is always, and now since the place got more accessible due to the other building, our neighbors, they have a brewery just in front. That's a pure commercial space. But some of those people bleed out and come over and see, like, what are you doing? What is this place? Like, just pure curiosity often helps a lot. And then you have to take the time and to explain the project and lead people through it. So some will stick, some will go again, some will just stick for a short time, some will stay for long term. You can't control that. So, well, we question ourselves a lot in the DKollektiv, and one of our things is that we notice that we're not really good at communicating. So we need to work on that. But we're just a small group of people, and we're mostly doing this on a volunteer basis because the whole renovation financing is over now. So we need to look for new ways of. We have a convention with the city of Dudelange, and we have a convention with the Ministry of Culture. They help us to structure also our communication strategy, hopefully, and we have to work on it, like to attract new people, to keep the ones that we have, because those are precious. So let's see what happens when people come.
Sanne?
Doet hij het nog? Ja. I actually do recognize what you're saying. We are also a very small team, only 4 people. And I think in the beginning what really helped is that it's a sort of mysterious place. So people really want to discover it. It was a sort of hidden treasure in the city. Hardly anyone knew it. And if there were openings, people said, oh, I go to Brutus. And for example, we had the 180 artist project in the summer. So they all brought their friends, their neighbors, their family members. So it really became a project of the artists and of the community. And it attracted really a lot of people. And what we also notice is that people are really willing to help us. And that's, for example, we now have to apply for subsidy for the municipality again. We were in the first plan for 4 years, but now for 25 to 28, we have to come up with a new plan. And also for another large fund. And we reached out to Media Monks, which is a sort of megaloman, how do you say, humongous media strategy company. And we asked them, could you help us? We actually don't have any money. And they are super eager to help us. They like the type of creativity, the things that are happening at Brutus. And yeah, so we also have a lot of people that are willing to help free of charge to make it big and to make it visible.
Yeah, okay. It's especially at the beginning of kind of projects, you know, the enthusiasm. It's a common sense, I mean. But how can you sustain this? And is there a continuous communication about your aims and next steps? Especially for you, because you have been, you have, you know, history. Probably the Serge, the VEWA is only, you know, at the stage of the first step. So, but then probably you have to communicate what is your next steps, next vision, because otherwise the people just will ask, hey man, it wasn't the first initiative. So how can you sustain this, you know, as an enthusiast? So you did you communicate to the people what should be the next step? And
yeah, that's something actually we are diving into right now to create a strategy actually for the upcoming 4 years. Until now, I already said we said everyone is an insider. So in Rotterdam we have 11 target audiences, and everyone has to choose which you want to focus on. And we said, okay, we don't want to choose. We focus on all of them. But actually now we are getting in the next phase that's not doable anymore. Because if we want to do something with a small campaign or to reach out to target audiences that are really hard to reach out to, we need to focus on these groups and to create a side program or an advertisement campaign or to do something on Instagram to reach out to reach these audiences actually, sorry. Yeah, so we are in the middle of that strategy right now.
Cool. Serge?
For us, since we are kind of, the VEWA is in the beginning, the DKollektiv will exist for a little bit longer, but it's a lot about confidence, like getting the right confidence from the authorities, like from the city, from the ministry, and so that they trust you in what you're doing. And then for this, you have to show what is happening in this space, and to keep it alive, and to always reinvent yourself in a way, but keep true to the meaning of the space. That's why we also had established a charter for the building. So what you can do and what you can't do for the whole community, not only just for the DKollektiv, but and to make it also really a long-term project. For us, it's a long-term project, but we need to also anchor this in the heads of the administrations to trust us enough to let us play in this space. I think it's the same for other associations or initiatives that were founded also in the same period, like our colleagues from Schifflange, Ferro Forum, and so they have the same issues, and it's always like you're in an unsure space. Like there's a big difference between you guys. You own a terrain; it's your place, so you can do whatever you want on it. That's a really big difference.
Yeah, we should talk about on this in the finance block, because it's really interesting. But do you remember what was the most successful community project? Where it attracted more people, or was best feedbacks you received?
Until now, well, the renovation, really the renovation, like renovating a building. That was all the people asking us, "Oh, are you continuing the renovation stuff?" And we're like, well, we are kind of a bit tired of the renovation work, because we're confronted, and especially our architect is a bit tired because he had to organize like all the plans, the workshops and everything. But it is interesting, and it takes a lot of involvement from the people. But now we kind of try to adapt parts of the building, but also focus back on doing workshops and other activities, not just purely renovating all the time, because then you lose other people again in the process.
Okay, and Sanne, what was your best or most successful projects which people, the community liked very much?
Well, yeah, we have a couple. I already mentioned the World Summer of Art. That was one of the first projects when I came as a director. So that was really nice to see that after Corona time, actually the whole art scene in Rotterdam knew to find Brutus and got together at our venue. But another nice project is always the Art Week, the Rotterdam Art Week, when all the people, international collectors, come over from all around the globe. Also people not from Rotterdam, but from Amsterdam and other places in the country. And yeah, you have more experience how it was used to be before a couple of years ago. But last year it was really thousands of people and all experiencing the exhibitions at Brutus, and it was very positive. So that was also nice to see. And I think the cross-pollination between all the different target audiences is always nice. So, for example, what I mentioned about the music concert and all those young people that go through the exhibitions, yeah, that makes you feel really proud, actually, and happy.
Cool. So it's always the art is in the center. So it looks the art is probably it's an easy connection, or could be an easy connection to people. No.
What I wanted to add to Sanne's story. So now the exhibition we have now is called Melancholia. So it's the melancholy of oil, you could say, and it's an exhibition curated by Alexander Klose, a German curator, specialized in this subject, where he basically has 30 or so artists that work about the beauty of oil, like all the things that we have because of that, but also all negative things, but also pretty scientific as well. And I thought it's very interesting, like day before yesterday we had a lot of large groups that came to visit, and one of them was a company, research and development company of that is making bio-based plastics. So there's also a lot of interest from scientists, researchers, and this kind of things, because our aim is actually to open up the art institution for a much larger public than just the art interest people.
That's a good point to open up, and that's why we also looking right now to do collaborations with schools, with the university, and to bring people to the place and to show them that there's also different forms of, like with recuperation, what you can do with stuff that other people throw away and are still perfectly fine. Because here in Luxembourg we live in a world where a lot of stuff gets thrown away, but it's just amazing. So.
Yeah, we should move forward, probably the policy making, and you think these kind of bottom-up initiatives can meet with top-down urban planning? You know, if there is any, sometimes we feel that there is no top-down, approaches, or this one is always bottom-up, or. So what do you think on that? So who is the initiator, or could we implement these practice in a higher level municipality policy making? So could be okay. We have a nice abandoned former industrial area, or even just a part of the city, and let's allow some artists to be there and make a buzz and make a place.
I've seen that a lot all over the world, where they try to do placemaking, where they try to include makers or creators or artists in this development of new areas, and I've seen it like go wrong all the time. But at the end, it's rebuilt, it's better built, and then the rents triple, quadruple, multiply many times, that basically artists or like people beginning, they don't have a place there, and at the end it's only offices, architect studios, and a lot of things. So this goes always wrong. So if you want to change that, I think the owner of the land, or the government actually, should really make like conditions for the redevelopment of an area, to say, okay, you should have 20% or 5% an area suitable for this people, no matter what it costs or what it takes, or give it, yeah. So I think you have to really make it as a kind of a law, instead of, we want to do it, and because if you want to do it, they don't succeed.
What do you think?
It's funny, in 2001, when we met, you had this slogan of the free state, because I think at the time you perceived your own country, the Netherlands, as an over-planned territory, you see? So every square meter in Holland is very carefully planned. There are tons of layers of drawings and networks and everything. And what you try to do is to clear up the stage and have to have a space of free expression and liberty somehow. And where did you manage to do that? In a former industrial area. And of course, this whole discussion we are having has everything to do with the voids that appear in the cities due to the obsolescence of some industrial activities. So I think the whole process and circular process of artists moving into colonizing empty areas and then bringing new life shows that the city hates the void. So as soon as there is a void, there will be attention to it. And the whole point is how do we protect these areas of relative freedom? As soon as they are there and there is a void, and then some creative people go and try to bring new life into these empty locations, then it's good. But of course, the whole point is to maintain this dynamics. And So that's why I think we need to keep this idea of free spaces and with specific rules applying for these areas, and that is very difficult. And I think, like, to take the example of here, Luxembourg, it's extremely difficult to have rules applying for areas that are different from other areas, because you are creating a sort of biased competition, of course, between various locations. But we should at least address this and make it an issue. And if we are clear that we do need to have games that are played differently, then at least we can start an open discussion with the decision makers, you know?
What I also see happen quite a lot in this kind of areas that will be redeveloped. They say to the artist, here, we have this old building for you, so you can have it. And then, I mean, then they go into the old building, which very often is a monument. It's not insulated, it's not heated. The spaces are awkward, so they get like a really shitty building that they have to refurbish, and it's always cold, and a lot of things, while the other lands, they're empty, and then, you know, you can build big towers and things like that. So that is like also happening a lot. So they should say, well, you live in the monument, and give the artist a new place, and then they.
Absolutely, absolutely true. And yeah.
Prices for the real estate developers immediately increase, because if the creatives are doing the placemaking, that immediately affects the price of real estate.
That's
So
why
that
that's what I wanted to bring it, because how is the feeling that you make a buzz, you may put a lot of effort, you make a vibrant, you know, neighborhood, and you know the value of the neighborhood, the properties, is just go and up, but you can have that profit because, you know, somebody else have this profit. So how can you live with it? Just don't care, or should it be implement, you know, at the beginning? Okay, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be increase the, you know, the value of the neighborhood properties. We should, you know, have a deal. Can you imagine such a agreement with the municipality or private players, or it's absolutely utopia?
I don't know, because we don't have any leverage on this. Like, it's the whole territory belongs to the Fonds du Logement, which is like the social housing, like, a developer and a governmental developer, and now our building belongs to the city of Dudelange, and we have the right to be in it. So we are occupying it somehow with our activities and with the activities of the other associations, but we don't have any leverage on the building and on the development on the site around. But before, we were in a building which was a complete grey zone. It didn't have windows, it had half a functional toilet, and we could do whatever we wanted. It was like the complete grey zone of madness. But that's not the case anymore, since we are now under a more framed roof.
And is there any chance to anybody invite to you in this discussion? I mean, from the municipality, how should be developed, you know, the wider neighborhood? Something like.
Sorry, she just left, I think.
Ow, we missed. Okay. We're gonna post, you know, the records to her or him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's important, because I haven't seen, you know, such a cooperation, but it should be, I guess. I mean, you start something, it's getting popular, so it's something new and fresh, but they don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to get angry about, for me, to get angry about it. Or
absolutely not angriness. I mean, it's just a
fact.
niche, you know. It's
exactly. And we hope that the municipality embraces our projects also in the future. And I think our biggest challenge is to stick to our DNA, and that it will not get too polished if all the apartments will be built and there will be schools and shops and restaurants, and it will be that we still keep that unpolished remnant type of, and that freedom, which is very important, and independency, that we can keep that. And but furthermore, we are also dependent on the municipality. So for us, it's good that they embrace it. Yeah.
I'm listening to the discussion, and something we didn't mention is that it's art. We shouldn't forget that it's about art. You know, you can define it. I know in your case, maybe I'm telling you, because at some point, the fact that it's art-driven development has a strong meaning in the sense that it becomes monumental, even in some informal sense, but it becomes a place with a very strong identity, with a strong history, with characters passing by, really strong creators being there delivering work. And this is really something that is really hard to achieve. It's unique, and art brings that. And so I think one strategy that you can apply to maintain your position, to keep your position, is to be really affirmative in the uniqueness and the stubbornness of your artistic identity, so to say. And I think if you don't do that, probably it's easier for the politics to take you back to the normal situation, you know, and then to blend you in the landscape. So I think art can be, as proved by Joep, a strategy to become to resist to some kind of uniformity and some kind of going back to normal business, you know. So let's embrace art as a strategy and make the best of it to achieve some goals and make the project more sustainable.
Yeah, that's absolutely important. I mean, what happened, you know, both cases, you know, just you find an interesting place, a hidden treasure. What you polish it, you know, and put in life, art or not art, community activities, whatever. So art could be, because it's a very visible, you know, it's a good understandable, you know, in many cases. So it's a good tool, but not the only one, of course. But what you are doing here, it's, you know, just show everybody else the potential of the hidden treasure, and then it makes the place around this. But I agree, the art is it's an easy tool.
But if you tell a story, somebody has to listen. So, and that, I think you can't make them listen, but hopefully they will listen. I think that's you can't influence the authorities somehow. They need to be sensible to this as well. And if they're not, it gets very complicated in our situation, for example.
And how do you think about the location? The location is important. I mean, I remember at Budapest when we started the center, we tried to find something which is close to the center, because otherwise it's not easy to raise audience, and if you are not reachable easily, not easily connected, maybe less people come. But of course, to be in the city center or close to the city center, you know, it's more difficult, because, you know, the property is still high. But if you are away from the city center, the current city center, because every city is growing and growing, it's good because it's cheap and, you know, easy. Nobody cares at the beginning. What do you think about the location?
For us, well, in Luxembourg, there's the city. There's one city, and which is not, for me, in my opinion, not a city, but just a place with less cows than the rest of the country. But it's Dudelange it has a center, and it will remain the center of town. But there will be a new city quarter, and since we have a really bad example how it was done already once in Luxembourg, which is a place which is called Belleval, they did the opposite. They put in a rock hall and a shopping center, and then at the end they thought, oh, we might need some people. So, and then they added housing. So here it will be a housing district, but the idea was to create an identity of the place before people would access it, and it started as a transitory project, like our colleagues from the garden as well. They have to move 3 times, but we are the first who will not move anywhere anymore. So we anchored ourselves in this place, and to create an identity and a pole where other things can happen around. So
Okay, but would you be happier than it would be closer to the center, or?
it doesn't matter. For us, it was even important that it is not in the center, because then it wouldn't create this new identity, and we wouldn't have had the same possibilities or buildings as we have here now.
About?
For us, it's definitely a challenge where we are based. We are actually only 10 minutes by bike from the city center, so it's pretty close. But even on days when it's raining, when it's cold, we notice that people prefer to stay in the city center, and especially with the aim to increase the amount of visitors in the upcoming years, it will definitely help us if we have more facilities in the neighborhood, like restaurants, other things to do. So people won't be only, they can go to the Praxis, which is a sort of, what is it called? Een bouwmarkt. A building market, I don't know, a large, that's the only thing they can combine. But I hope in the future there will be other facilities, so it will be easier, yeah.
And okay, let's move forward the communication. Even we can say propaganda. So it's you are all artists, and you can make nice logos, and make leaflets, and make keep your project visible. As you think it's a tool in your hands, you use it consciously, or you just making nice things, or?
Well, if I look at my own career as an artist, I caused quite a lot of scandals in the past, which were very fortunate and very functional to get your name around. And so I also think we have to look at this kind of things in a different way. Like if everyone else is like this, an artist or Brutus should do this. So I think, and we have a big chance to do it. I mean, I don't know, we can burn down our place for fun. No, we have, another project we have, sorry, no, we're not going to burn down. But,
why not?
but we had this idea to do, what was it, buy or burn? Buy or burn. So you ask an artist, they come, you say, well, we have an auction. It's a buy or burn auction. So if nobody is buying the work, there will be a big flame, and then well, I'm sure you get some angry people and some happy people, but for sure you get publicity. So I think artists are strange people that think in a different way, and they should always try to use this quirkiness to be before or different than other people.
Serge? Is it something which you use really?
We play a lot with graphics. You see one of the heads of the graphic department over there. So yeah, so it's fun to play with mediums, but you need to bring them to people, and that's still where our work needs to be done. That's where we are not so good at yet. We're working on it. But it helps to have creative people around the table to think about off-the-map ideas to bring yourself out, like building a bike out of a door, for example, and stuff like that. So.
Okay. So I really like in your presentation, dream big and build big, but it definitely means the budget should be big as well, no? So shall we talk about the finance? How in both cases, I mean, what is the financial structure or strategy, or it's private money, public money, the fear of it, the wish of it. So
I prefer not to talk about money.
No, I
No,
mean,
no.
it's a
It was a joke.
strategy. I mean,
Yeah. No, because we are super dependent on the money. We are in the cultural plan of the municipality, and with that amount of money, which is not so much, we can afford the 4 people that are working in the office. And for all the other projects, we need to find the funding somewhere else. So either private donators, supporters, either funds that support a specific project. For example, the Petro Melancholia, we had a couple of large funds in the Netherlands who supported the show. We also have a couple of private funds in Rotterdam that really believe in the power of Rotterdam-based artists and initiatives in Rotterdam. So we also apply for these kind of funds. And we have a large fund in the Netherlands, Mondriaan Fonds, where we have a structural subsidy for the upcoming 2 years. So this year, not yet, but in 24 they will start. So it hopefully. And yeah.
So except like money, like subsidies, we also have rentals. So people that come to do a project or do have a wedding or a party or a concert. So we rent out the spaces as well, which is then we have the tickets that we sell. So I think in a situation like this, you have to look around and find like very many different sources of income, because if you have one source of income, you are too fragile on.
I'm just really interested in the finance on the strategic level. So it's don't to mention numbers. I hate numbers too. But it's important, I guess, because in such projects, because sometimes I remember we didn't want to accept public money because we wanted to be independent. But otherwise, you need money, and then you have to sell something. I mean, probably alcohol or probably events, whatever. But you should make money to running your cultural agenda. So that's why I'm asking. And also, if you accepting private money is also could be challenging because they ask something.
For the moment, we are funded by the city of Dudelange, so the municipality, and the Ministry of Culture. But that counts for the DKollektiv. The VEWA, the building, like the structure over all the associations, they're working out a strategy. So we're not there, but the point is to also employ people to do all this programmation, but not yet. We're on it. So it's in development right now. A lot of things are happening on a volunteer basis, and the goal is to get this secured so that some people can work there and be accessible and be like the head of the building, and so that the activities can be financed by all the associations. Like every association should finance their own activities. And when we have like a punctual project like this year, when we built the windmill with participants, that was a subsidy, a punctual subsidy that we asked for. It's always like punctual subsidies, public money. Private money, like when we sell drinks, of course, but that doesn't bring in huge amounts of money, but that covers the costs and enables to buy food or to buy other things, to like smaller stuff to make this place running as well. So.
Yeah, it's you should keep an eye to sell your own alcohol, because in many cases in Budapest there was cultural initiatives who, of course, making bars and make parties, whatever, and financing themselves from it, which is, I think it's okay. It's absolutely okay. But sometimes, the people who were in the real, hospitality business and this and take over the bar, and just pull out, the only legs of your chair, and then. Oh, it could be very challenging. So, yeah. Okay, and also you mentioned in the presentation, your model is unique and totally different. The approach from what aspect, let's say?
I think several aspects. First of all, because it's artist-driven, it's an initiative by an artist, which is not common. Our infrastructure is completely different than all the other institutions that we have in the Netherlands, and that also enables us to do other type of projects and to work extra large and to do those projects that are too complicated and too controversial. We, for example, have no heating. It's cold. We have sometimes we have leakages. How do you say? It's wet in the building. So that's a challenge, but it also enables us to do things that you can do nowhere else, actually. And I think that there is hardly any rule, because the artist is put first. So it's not that they get a whole list of criteria. It needs to fit on a specific wall. It needs to be in this corner. They can just, like I said, dream big, build big, and create something that they can do, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that they can do nowhere else.
I also find unique that the most of the properties in your hands. I mean, in the hands of the foundation. So you own the property, which I think it's a very different. I mean, okay, it doesn't matter, but you as the stakeholder, you are the stakeholder. Otherwise, if you have an agreement, or even without agreement, you're just doing what you are doing, always there is a fear anytime you can lose your project, which could be, Serge, challenging, no?
Not any time, but it's a danger, and it's the same for some of our friends. So yeah,
so you put a lot of effort and energy.
We try to keep it busy, and we try to show that we do stuff to the administration, and the goal is to create some sort of bubble where people work together and share their experience and share their knowledge and share their creativity through the research projects, through their own work, and it should be not like a production space where you are bound to produce more and more and become bigger and bigger. It's a bit the opposite. So, but to make it still function and to keep it a safe space for this shared knowledge.
Yeah, sometimes it helps a lot anyway, because I remember we keeping and running our place, and at a certain point we had to close down because I don't know why, and we realized, oh, we have so much fresh and new time, and okay, we can do something else. So sometimes it helps if you lose your project. But anyway, yeah. What is the biggest challenges you see in front of you right now at the moment, or the next steps, among the next steps? So what is the big task, big challenges you should take over in the next couple of years? Or
funding is always a big challenge, and to stick to the DNA, to don't get rid of it, because it was an unpolished diamond for the past since 2008.
Yeah.
And now we increase in visitor amount, in visibility, people know to find it. So the biggest challenge is that it's still rough and unpolished, and that we keep to the DNA, stick to the DNA, for me.
Cool.
To me, the biggest challenge is to get it realized in a limited amount of time, and also to divide my time between this kind of like strategical stuff and my own work. Because first of all, I'm an artist, and so that's the biggest challenge that I have. And to on one hand to build the real estate and to provide all the things necessary for Brutus to exist, but also to not forget my own work. So I always have to do this.
In balance, find the balance.
I can really relate to this. Yeah,
you too?
Not the real estate part, because I'm not there yet. I think I won't be, but. But yeah, the situation that for us will change a lot because it will be a building site the next 10 to 15 years around us, and they will build a whole city quarter around us, which is would definitely be a challenge to exist and keep people coming to a functioning building site, and how the access will be organized to this. So accessibility and funding, of course, and trying to keep true to the values that we started with.
So sooner or later we are coming to the end, and now I'm gonna ask you, anybody has a good question or bad question or challenging question? Please feel free to ask anything to anybody. In the meantime, you are thinking of your question. I would like to ask, put it my last question probably, that if we would be in 5 years and the same discussion, what would be the best result you would be very pleased? I mean, how do you yourself in 5 years, and what would be your pleased? What is your aim?
So I have to work a lot with the government, because they have to give the permit to build, and it goes very slowly, much more slow than we want. And well, you have first to know that the company that I made to start this development is called Caligula, which was the most cruel of all the Roman emperors. I don't know how many times he married, and he married his sister, and then he killed her. It's like one big bloodbath. So this is the name of the company. The building project is called Brutus, and Brutus is the person that killed Caesar, and Caesar was the status quo. So basically I'm telling them, that I'm going to get rid of the establishment, like all the other museums, the Boymans museums and whatever they have in Rotterdam. And I also told them, if I don't get this permit within 5 years, I burn my building, and the rest of Rotterdam will burn as well. I will poison the water. And then they looked a little bit to me like, huh? Okay. They still don't realize that I was serious about that. So, 5 years from now, I think you should watch the newspapers.
Okay, cool. I keep an eye.
I have absolutely no clue. Hopefully the building will still stand and will be still in it. So
still in the project, or on a different project? So you want to do it?
I want to continue this project, yeah. And also keep on to my work as an artist. Like you said, this challenge is quite hard sometimes, and trying to represent a project, but also you have to not forget your own work and your own research, and have fun with your own work. So because you get also a lot of energy and power from that, not only from the working with the community. So.
And how about the residential project nearby? You think in 5 years will we build something?
In 5? Man,
don't think so.
Not yet, I think.
The soil is too polluted, I guess.
Okay, you think so? We
you
can
think?
Ask Sala. She's there's the architect with the master plan. So.
Okay. What do you think? You're gonna make big blocks around VEWA?
Was not prepared for that, but what I can say is actually that the organism who is organizing the tenders just made the first tender for architects and engineers to start the first new constructions. So even if we know that they also have very long procedures, so I can understand your problem, we can be optimistic to have the first building in 5 years, yes.
Cool. All right. It's also the soil pollution could be a very challenging, which is often happened in such former industrial areas, the oil leaking and something like this. Okay.
in 5 years, I hope these guys are still doing artworks and don't get totally swallowed by the architecture thing, you know? Because what I want to see is good work, you know? I don't want them to colonize this whole
and triggering
industry
your
around
position
it, you
as
know?
an architect.
So please keep on doing art, especially you, because you are so involved in your project that I also want to see art, you know? That's my passion, and I really want to see it, you know?
But Sándor said,
Stop
yeah, you're
being
just afraid
architects
we're
all the
going to
time.
take your job.
We don't see more architects, you know. All right, anyone else? Is there any question? Remarks, even remarks?
Hello. I have a question to all of you. If you have any inspirational place in the world where you can see like a city of a future connected with art, where you would like to live or you're inspired by, existed or in projects?
One of the places I found very inspiring was the Sanne Foundation, which is the foundation that Donald Judd made in the middle of nowhere, somewhere of the middle of nowhere of Texas. And that is an amazing project. I mean, it has a studio, but also has like land art. It has an exhibition space for other artists. And I thought this is like really beautiful that something like this is made.
For me, inspiration it comes from different areas, not only landscape or so, but it's mainly rage and absurdity. So it's what's happening now just keeps me working. Like all this stupid shit that's happening all around us. So places not so much. It's related to stories of places, but you don't want to go to those places normally. That inspire me.
Right. Anybody else? All right, then we're gonna close. Thank you guys with this nice, fruitful conversation, and of course to all of you to coming on this Saturday afternoon and work with us. So good luck. Keep going. Keep an eye.